In a small village there was an abandoned house. This house has been abandoned for a long time. No one knows who its owner is or why they left. The house is located in a remote area, surrounded by dense forests. The house is built of wood and has a mossy tile roof. The windows closed silently, without a sound. One evening, a group of young people were going out for the night. They happened to pass by that area and saw the abandoned house. One of them, named Henry, suggested everyone come in and take a look. Henry's friends were all scared, but in the end they agreed. They went into the house, turned on their flashlights and started looking around. The house inside is very dark and damp. The furniture in the house was rotten, scattered everywhere. The air in the house was cold, making everyone shiver. The group of young men went through each room, but found nothing special. They were preparing to leave when they suddenly heard a strange noise from above the wooden attic. Everyone was stunned. They looked at each other, not knowing what to do. The sound came again, clearer than before. Henry took the lead. They went up the stairs to search for the cause of the noise. They went through every room upstairs, but still couldn't find anything. The noise rang out again, this time right behind them. They turned around and saw a dark figure lurking in the darkness. That black shadow hovered, sometimes hiding and sometimes appearing. It wore a jet black coat, obscuring its entire face. Too scared, Henry and his friends ran down the wooden ladder and escaped the abandoned house. They did not dare to turn back. They could only run until they had no more strength. When they stopped to rest, they looked at each other. No one said a word. They were all scared and worried, not knowing what they had encountered. Henry was the first to speak. "It was terrible," he said. "Sure," said one of Henry's friends. "That black shadow is so scary." "But what is it?" another asked. "Why is it in that house?" No one can answer that question. They only knew that they had encountered a very strange and scary ghost. They decided to leave that area and never come back. They walked home in silence, not saying anything to anyone about what they had experienced. However, the story of the abandoned house still spread in the village. Many people think that house is haunted. They recounted seeing dark shadows appear in the house at night. Some time later, a man named Robert decided to go to an abandoned house to find out if there were really ghosts there. Robert is a brave man. He doesn't believe in ghosts. He thought the stories about the abandoned house were just baseless rumors. Robert arrived at the abandoned house one dark night. He carried a flashlight and a stick for self-defense. Robert went inside the house, turned on the flashlight, and began to explore. The house inside was as he'd heard it, dark and damp. The furniture in the house was rotten, scattered everywhere. The air in the house was cold. The feeling contained many mysteries. Robert went through each room, but found nothing special. He was about to leave when he suddenly heard a strange noise from above. Robert was stunned. He looked around, not knowing what to do. The sound came again, clearer than before. Robert decided to go upstairs to find the source of the noise. He walked up the stairs carefully, holding the stick tightly in his hand. When he reached the room upstairs, Robert heard the noise again. He looked around, but saw nothing. Robert began to feel afraid. He knew he was being watched. The sound rang again, this time right behind Hung. He turned around and saw a dark figure lurking in the darkness. The shadow was wearing a jet black coat, covering its entire face. Robert was so scared, he ran out of the house. He ran like hell, not daring to turn back. When Robert ran out of the house, he looked back and the house had disappeared. Instead there was a desolate field, with no trace of a house. Robert knew he had encountered something very strange and scary. He believed that the ghost story about this abandoned house was true. Robert told his story to everyone. His story made everyone in the village even more afraid of the abandoned house. From then on, no one dared to go near the abandoned house anymore. They believed that the house is a sacred place and should not be violated. Many years later, a girl named Anne came to the village. Anne is a beautiful and kind girl. She cares a lot about those around her and always wants to help others. One day, Anne passed by an abandoned house. She heard about haunted stories there, but she didn't believe in them. And still thinks those stories are just rumors made by people scaring people from other places. And decided to go to the abandoned house to have a look. She carried only a flashlight and did not need any self-defense equipment. And went inside the house, turned on the flashlight, and began to observe. The house inside was still as Anne had heard, very dark and cold. Spider webs spread all over the house. And slowly walked deeper into the house. The surrounding scenery was nothing special. She was about to leave when she suddenly heard a strange noise from above. And was stunned. She looked around, not knowing what to do. The sound came again, clearer than before. And decided to go upstairs to search for the source of the noise. She walked up the stairs carefully, but inside she began to worry. When she got upstairs, and heard that noise again. She looked around, but didn't see anything. But Anne also felt like a ghost was watching her every move. The noise rang out again, this time right behind Lon. She turned around and saw a dark female figure standing right behind her. Anne was extremely scared, but she still tried to calm down. She knew she couldn't run away. And walked towards the shadow. She gently spoke, "I'm not afraid of you." The black shadow is still cold. It turned to look at Anne, its eyes as red as blood. And looked into the shadow's eyes, she saw pain and despair in them. She knew that the shadow was a trapped soul. And said, "I'm here to help you." The dark figure looked at Anne with surprise. It never thought that someone would be willing to help it. And said, "What do you want?" At this time, the shadow spoke, "I want to escape." And said, "I will help you." Suddenly the dark figure sobbed, telling Anne her story. She said she lost her parents in an accident. She was very miserable and lonely. And heard the shadow talk, and began to feel sympathy for the shadow. And knew that the shadow was experiencing the pain it had endured for so long. The shadow said sadly, "I have forgiven the person who caused the accident for me and my parents. I know they didn't do it on purpose." And heard the shadow speak, and began to feel more comfortable. And gently said, "First of all, we need to understand that all of us can make mistakes. We all have times when we make mistakes, hurting ourselves and others. When one person makes a mistake, they make a mistake. Forgiveness will help them realize their mistakes and correct them, giving them the opportunity to start a new life again. Second, forgiveness is a noble quality. It shows human altruism and tolerance. When we forgive others, we not only help them, but we also help ourselves. Forgiveness will free us from negative emotions such as anger and hatred, helping us to live more peacefully and happily. After hearing Anne's words, the shadow knew that it also needed to forgive the person who caused the death of its family. Right after that, the shadow bowed to Anne and said, "I thank you very much. You have helped me release the chains that have been tied to me for many years. Now I am gently freed." Suddenly, Anne saw the abandoned house disappear. Instead, there is a field of wildflowers, beautiful and vibrant. Anne knew that she had helped the darkness escape. She feels excited and happy. She knows she did a good deed and left the area of the abandoned house, bringing a new hope. She knows that there is still good in this world, and she will continue to strive to make the world a better place. Thank you for listening to the story of the Underworld channel.